Good morning, everyone. I'd like to welcome everyone to this meeting of the NMU Board of Trustees, which I'd like to call to order. And I would ask Secretary Andrew to please take the roll.
Trustee Young,
Present.
Trustee Hart, Trustee Fatante,
Present.
Trustee Sepinen,
Present.
Trustee Holmquist,
Present.
Trustee LaPointe Dunham,
Present.
Trustee Lindberg,
Present.
Trustee Toutant.
Present.
We have a quorum with 7 trustees present.
Thank you. I'd like to ask for a motion and a second to approve the agenda as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Is there any discussion? If not, those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion carries. Secretary Andrew, do we have any individual requests to address the board?
We do. We've had 5 today. First up is Dr. Brandon Canfield. Come to the front up here.
Yeah, I would ask our guests that are addressing the board that we do have 5 people, and if we could keep you to 3 minutes, that would be awesome. So thank you very much for being here.
3 minutes, thank you. Just here to warm up the crowd for you. Good morning, thank you. Over the years, I've had the chance to address the board in various capacities and on a variety of topics. First time I had such an opportunity was almost exactly 7 years ago at the December 2016 Academic Affairs Committee meeting alongside my colleagues Dr. Leslie Putman, Dr. Mark Paulson. We were asking for final approval for the medicinal plant chemistry program, unique in the world at the time for its focus on cannabis. It was a bit of a surreal moment. And the next several years were quite a whirlwind. Although we predicted 20 new students in the program by the end of the second year, we had 10 times that number in less than a year, with the entire chemistry department more than tripling in size shortly after. This enrollment success was driven largely by viral marketing across social media, something which we had very little control over and which we could never hope to replicate. It was a product of the time, a new program unlike anything else in existence, and yet familiar enough to be recognized as a need long unfulfilled. And while, if I'm not mistaken, none of you were trustees at the time of the first meeting and subsequent program approval, some of you may recall I returned 4 years later to the December 11th, 2020 board meeting with a plea for our program. In that meeting, I begged the board to not partner with the for-profit cannabis education company Green Flower in the delivery of their various online non-credit-bearing cannabis studies certificates. I outlined exactly how such a partnership would harm the medicinal plant chemistry program, and the video of this virtual meeting is still available on the NMU AV streaming channel on YouTube. I encourage you to review it at your leisure. My comments are right at the beginning, a couple minutes in. Unfortunately, my warnings were not heeded, and the Green Flower Partnership, which is not at all unique to NMU and one of several identical university partnerships they carry across the country, was adopted. If we fast forward 3 years and we find the medicinal plant chemistry enrollment has plummeted, not on a high plateau following an initial sharp peak, as should be expected. Instead, we are fast falling off a cliff. And after looking at this closely for some time, the primary conclusion is that prospective students are simply unaware that we exist, and that blame lies squarely on the for-profit cannabis studies in a way I never even predicted in 2020. So, if you are a prospective student interested in cannabis and/or chemistry, and we know from experience there are many, many, many such prospective students across the country, and if you'd maybe heard that college degrees now existed related to those topics, what would you do to find out more information about that? Real question, not rhetorical. You probably Google it, right? That's what we all do. That's how we find information. You might even try search terms like cannabis university or marijuana college or maybe even weed degree. My time before you is limited, but I encourage you to try those searches or any similar combination of terms you can think of. The top result for all of the many, many variations we could come up with is in fact a Northern Michigan University webpage, but it has no mention of nor any direct link to the medicinal plant chemistry program. In fact, it seems the only way to discover the medicinal plant chemistry program is to already know and search its precise name. This should give us all pause. Someone made a conscious decision to direct all relevant web traffic to our for-profit cannabis studies partnership instead of to our legitimate undergraduate degree program. Why? Millions of dollars have been invested in the medicinal plant chemistry program, which in turn generated millions more in revenue. What have we gained from these cannabis study certificates? How many certificates have even been purchased? I encourage you all to seek the answers to these questions and to reassess the merit of such a partnership. And most of all, I encourage you to make the conscious decision to fix the web search traffic issue. Students will not enroll in the MedPlant program if they cannot find it. Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor. Kathy, who's next?
Next up is Miss Isabel Honkamp.
Hello, my name's Isabel Honkamp. I'm a third-year student here at NMU, and I would like to talk about my experience with SHINE as a SHINE intern, which is the Sustainability Hub for Innovation in the Environment. I started my career here at Northern as a freshman fellow working on a research project with Dr. Ryan Stock on solar panels. My second year here at NMU, I became the Northern Climate Network intern and worked on sending communications regarding the in-person seminar talking about, which brings in speakers talking about their research on climate change. So my second year here as an intern, I worked solely with Ryan Stock and Jess Thompson on sending out communications, and I was only in contact with them via email. But now, since I am under the SHINE department, I have the opportunity to work with other students, with other professors, and have weekly meetings talking about sustainability, which has really increased my ability to work on sustainable projects here at NMU. So I would just like to thank the board for making sustainability a focus and for continuing to give me the opportunity to increase my career regarding sustainability. I urge you to continue to create more opportunities for students, as this opportunity has created a lot for me, and to have more opportunities for students to partner with the university and to create a more sustainable place to be at NMU. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Isabel. Kathy, you're next.
Miss Paige Whaley.
Hello everyone. I just wanted to come and thank you all for supporting sustainability on campus. I'm also an intern at SHINE, and I wanted to come up here and thank you for appointing Jess Thompson as a sustainability director. That is a big move in the sustainability world, and I think it's especially important for prospective students to see a university making big moves in that aspect. So I wanted to, thank you for that. And then I also wanted to just say, like Isabel said, I urge you to make more efforts in this realm, as, like I said, it's a big aspect for prospective students to look at, and it really gives a hands-on learning experience. For me personally, I've worked in sustainability throughout the community, and I think SHINE is a really good opportunity with higher education and more hands-on learning with professors and stuff. So I just wanted to thank you all, and we're going in the right direction. Thank you.
Thank you, Paige.
Next is Miss Lauren Sparks.
Good morning. I would like to start by thanking you all for taking a few minutes to listen to me. My name is Lauren Sparks. I'm a candidate in the Master of Fine Arts program here at NMU with concentrations in creative nonfiction and poetry. As part of my program, I had the opportunity this fall to take part in EN 508, the Island Experience, Eco-Criticism and Environmental Writing on Granite Island. Thanks to the generosity of Scott Holman, who's here today, I was able to go and spend a full weekend on the island, exploring the island, writing, staying in the lighthouse, hearing about the history of the lighthouse keepers and the island. This winter will be my final semester at NMU, but I've been thinking about the island experience since before I even committed to the MFA program. I remember Zooming with Jen Howard, the director of the program at the time, and being really excited by her focus on the close relationship to outdoor spaces here in Marquette, but my ears really perked when she mentioned the experiential learning opportunity of the island class. Community and field observation are both essential ingredients to a creative writing practice, and I'm grateful to say I have been able to experience both and both together as part of the island class. Although the high workload, fast-paced nature of the academic model creates a momentum that can accelerate growth and, I suppose, add the thrill of deadlines. It's really important as a writer to slow down, to take time for thinking, for being present with the people, plants, animals, and material world around you. A writing practice requires time spent looking and listening, then time spent working through your thoughts and observations with fellow creatives before you even make it to the page, as we say. I was shocked by how different the experience of walking Lake Superior shore was from being on Granite Island. There is no place on the island where you do not hear water meeting rock, and no place on the island where that meeting sounds the same. You're always aware of the water, its ceaseless nuance. There was something about being surrounded on all sides by the blue that helped me feel not only the immensity of Lake Superior, but myself as part of that immensity, rather than a passive observer staring out at the vast flatness of landscape. I also felt myself as more intimately connected to my peers with me on the island, alone together inside that immensity. Sometimes you must limit what's around you in order to wake yourself up to how much there is to be aware of, to ignite curiosity, humble the mind, renew the spirit. It may be cliche to say that an artist must live their art, but it's true. I hope you're able to continue to offer experiential learning opportunities like the Island class and even expand upon them if possible. It's easy for us writers to get caught up in our books and lives. We sometimes need the reminder to get off the mainland, slow down, consider, look, listen, and be. I will end with a few words I jotted down in my journal after taking an afternoon swim on Granite Island. The water holds me. It holds me together. The water moves me. It moves inside me. The water is me. I hold it. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Lauren. Appreciate those words.
Mr. Jonas Trombetta. I don't know that if he's here. So, guess move on.
Okay, yeah, I guess we will move on. At this time, we'll go to item 5 on the agenda, which is our sustainability package. And I would ask Dr. Tessman to lead this discussion.
Thanks, Mr. Chair and members of the board. It's tempting to steal everyone's thunder here and engage in a long introduction. I'll resist the temptation to do that. But what the board will have right now in front of them is a set of 4 items. In one of those 4 items will require formal board action. 3 of the 4 are more informational, but they all fit together around our investment in sustainability at Northern Michigan University. And just the 2 points that I'll make. One is that sustainability is a comprehensive term. So we think, of course, every single day at this university about the financial sustainability of the university, making sure we're around and thriving for another 125 years. We think about social sustainability, community sustainability, sustainability of the rural UP. Sustainability is an encompassing term. The focus today is really around environmental sustainability. And the key here is to think about these initiatives in terms of investment and alignment. So investments, certainly there are material investments we have, and you'll hear about an item related to our material investments and how we handle them. We focus very much on that element when it comes to sustainability. It's also an investment in our core values. And one of our core values is the environment. And I think a lot of the topics today will tap directly into that core value. But when we think about community, when we think about innovation, we think about connections and opportunity, inclusion and rigor. all of those core values are going to pop up as you hear about these next 4 items. And so I urge you to think about this set of moves and ultimately your vote in terms of the alignment with the core values of Northern Michigan University. So Chair Young, if you don't mind, I might just introduce the first item that you'll hear about. And this is really just I guess a bit of a heads up. The Board of Trustees has, of course, over the months and years, heard a good bit from our EcoReps organization. Earlier this year, we had a tour of campus and we saw some of the Green Fund projects that the EcoReps handle through Shine. And those Green Fund projects are funded by a student fee, and they're varied all the way from composting operations. There's a clover lawn out behind the Northern Center here. There's a rain garden. There's beekeeping operations. We saw a solar demonstration project. This board has expressed an interest in working more closely with the EcoReps and their Green Fund projects. And with your permission, what administration will do will be to connect the board with the EcoReps and ask you to consider a sort of signature Board of Trustees sponsored Green Fund project in 2024. So no details there. I think we'll need to work with the students, absolutely, with Dr. Jess Thompson, Dr. Ryan Stock, but that'll be an item that comes before you again in 2024. The second piece of that is around another kind of project that the EcoReps, I think, have been very successful in implementing, and these are zero waste events. Actually, one of the first hockey games I attended had a zero waste element. I had a chance to meet a lot of the EcoReps. In fact, some Michigan Tech EcoReps came down to help support that event. And really, it's about managing the waste that's generated from events that this university might host. So again, no directive there or anything specific, but I'd love to work with the board, connect you with the EcoReps, and if you're willing, to have the board sponsor a zero waste event in calendar year 2024. So Chair Young, that's really all I have to offer on that first item, but just wanted to give you that information and ask for your permission to begin the planning process.
That sounds good. Does anybody have any questions? I know we've talked about the project and a zero waste event, which we're looking forward to doing, but anybody have any questions before we move on?
Just positive.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I appreciate your work on that, Brock. Okay, go to the sustainability.
And the second item, yeah. So, of course, it's essential to note that on this campus in the community, there's so much sustainability work that's happening already. I've mentioned a couple of individuals already, Dr. Jessica Thompson, Dr. Ryan Stock. We have entire departments that have a kind of signature effort around sustainability, the Earth, Environmental, Geographic Sciences, EAGS being one of them. But that's really true throughout the entire university, academically, but also in terms of our operations. You'll hear a little bit later from Kathy Richards, who works closely with Jim Toms and Gavin Leach and myself on how we function day to day as a university. We know that this university also carries a major footprint in the community, in the region, across the state, across the country when it comes to external outreach, connections with external funding agencies. Dr. Thompson now has a seat on the National Parks Advisory Council. We are absolutely active and represented in terms of the Community Climate Action Plan. I know Trustee Seppin and you and I had some conversations about that. So we have these three areas: curricular, operational, and external. I'm here. It was mentioned in the public comment. I'm here to sort of formally announce that the university has appointed Dr. Jessica Thompson to serve as an assistant vice president of sustainability. She'll maintain her position as director of Shine, but Jess's role is really about integrating all of these different components of our sustainability efforts on campus and off campus. Again, not to supplant any efforts that are going on already or diminish them, but to serve as a connector and a champion, someone who can push us forward in an integrated way. And for those of you who are listening or watching or in the room, or those of you around this table, you know Jess is absolutely the right person to play this role. She can't be here at the board meeting today, otherwise I'd have her formally introduce herself, but we're so excited for her to hit the ground running. She'll start her work in this new role in the new year. So, Chair Young, with that, I can answer questions about the role, but I think that's enough for now.
Anybody have any questions? I think we all know. Oh, go ahead.
I'm thinking it hit the ground running. I think she's already done a couple laps.
That's right. That's
Yeah,
right.
that's what I was gonna say, so.
And so, Chair Young, the third item, which you'll see on the agenda, is really going to be led by our Vice President for Finance and Administration, Gavin Leach, and that's around the university's endowment and how we handle investments in that arena. So, Gavin, I'll hand it over to you.
Thank you. Gavin?
All right, thank you, President Testman. As Brock mentioned, we've been focused on our investments and trying to find a way to divest our endowment fund of fossil fuel investments. We've been looking at this for over a year and a half and working with our investment advisor, who's actually in the room today. He was visiting us yesterday too. Trying to find a plan that could move us forward in this direction. We currently don't have any direct investments in fossil fuels in our endowments, but we do have indirect passive investments in companies through funds. The current exposure we have through those passive investments is about 6% of our endowment. In order to move in that direction, we needed to be able to maintain our primary fiduciary responsibility of maximizing returns on the endowment fund, which is a responsibility of you as a board and me also, and the president. So we had to work at it, identify potential scenarios, and develop a plan that would allow the divestment and to maintain that fiduciary responsibility. So part of that is we needed to build a plan that would produce the same or better expected returns as our current investments, while limiting the change in volatility that can occur when you do change investment plans. And so trying to bring that mix together in a way that we feel comfortable that it still achieves our fiduciary responsibility going forward. The plan we put before you is expected to achieve a higher expected rate of return and will minimize the change in volatility of the expected return for endowment, thus enabling us to meet those fiduciary responsibilities and investments and ally our investments with our core values of the university, as Brock just sort of walked through just a minute ago. The plan to divest NMU's endowment of direct or indirect passive investments in fossil fuels and will be focused on doing this by 2028, and we have a revised investment policy in front of you that would state that we would completely divest by 2028. We'll aim to achieve a 50% divestment by the end of calendar year 2025, and also shift investments of up to 15% into sustainable investments by 2028. We'll also halt any new investments in those funds right now that have any fossil fuels. So in your board materials, you have a proposed revised investment policy statement for endowments that will require a special board action vote to be able to move forward with this plan.
Thanks, Gavin. What I'd like to do, if we can, maybe we could stay there, is we'll entertain a motion, and then we can have a discussion on that motion after we adopt the motion. Greg?
Mr. Chair, I move that the NMU Board of Trustees approve the revised NMU investment policy.
Is there a second?
I second that motion.
Okay. Is there discussion? Questions of Gavin or just comments about where we are?
I just want to say I think the students and faculty who have been pushing this for the last couple of years have done a really good job. We're at that point. And again, our contractors and our Vice President, Gavin Leach, have done a phenomenal job of making it fit and work. And I think this puts Northern Michigan University at the forefront of moving in the right direction in terms of sustainability.
Certainly a very thorough and thoughtful approach in working through a lot of the complexities of this, so well done.
I would just add, this is, as Brock has pointed out, is part of a package of things we're doing. But this is a very important part of that package, and I want to thank Gavin and his team and Aaron, for all their work to get us to this point, because it wasn't easy. There was a lot of work had to go into this. And I think back to some of the earlier meetings we had, and I credit our students for bringing this to our attention and putting it on the table and keeping it on the table for many, many weeks and months till we got to this point. And I really commend them for that. We're excited about this. We think it's important. We want to be a leader here. And I think this, coupled with the other things we're talking about doing, hopefully shows the commitment this board and this administration has to sustainability and making this a greener place. And so, thank you for all your help on this. If there's no other comments, we'll take a vote on the motion. And Secretary Andrew, if you'd please call the roll.
Please indicate with yes or no. Trustee Young,
Yes.
Trustee Fatante,
Yes.
Trustee Seppadin,
Yes?
Trustee Holmquist,
Yes.
Trustee LaPointe Dunham,
Yes.
Trustee Lindberg,
Yes.
Trustee Toutant.
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you, and thank you, Gavin, for your help.
Thank you.
And we are just on a roll here. We're way ahead of schedule, which is like highly unusual for this group. But having said that, I would now ask Kathy Richards to come forward and talk about our carbon neutrality master plan. Kathy, welcome.
Good morning. So carbon neutrality has been a discussion on campus for several years, and so it came into greater focus when the Carbon Neutrality Task Force was formed in November of 2021 by President Erickson. So the task force is made up of has broad campus representation and has 10 members. So Gavin Leach is the chair of the task force, and Mike Bath is on the task force, and Cindy Pavla, and then from facilities, myself, Jim Toms, and Brandon Sager. And we have 3 faculty, Dr. Jess Thompson and Dr. Sarah Mittelfeld, and Randy Klitsky, who's with Automotive Technology, and along with 2 students have been on the committee. So the former ASNMU president, Bethany Beaver, and the current Shine intern, Klibri Drobish. So the task force was directed to explore the feasibility of a multi-phase carbon neutrality plan that could be accomplished by 2050 or sooner. So 3 charges were given. 1, not to buy the university's way to carbon neutrality through purchasing renewable energy credits. 2, to start focusing on areas that could be directly controlled. And 3, to have flexibility in the plan to accommodate emerging technology and science over time. So with this direction, the task force has developed the carbon neutrality plan that we present today. So the carbon neutrality plan is laid out similar to the university's interim strategic plan, that it has goals, strategies, and tactics. The goals are to reduce carbon emissions by 25% by 2030, 50% by 2040, and 85% by 2050. So these goals were set based on discussions with an engineering consultant who analyzed our existing infrastructure, our heating, air conditioning, and electrical systems to determine what modifications or new technology could be implemented to reduce the university's carbon footprint during each decade. So the consultant calculated the university's baseline carbon footprint using energy and transportation fuel data from the years 2018 and 2019, which at that time was the most current data prior to the pandemic when operations were more normal. The university's baseline greenhouse gas emissions from those years of 2018 and 2019 were calculated to be 32,000 metric tons per year, which is lower than the average university globally at 52,000 tons per year. So 5 strategies were identified to achieve the carbon reduction goals. 4 of these strategies focus on the sources of emissions and 1 on the capture of emissions. So many examples of past initiatives support these strategies, including reducing energy use, optimizing our infrastructure through facility renovations and demolitions, right-sizing campus through repurposing existing space, like we did with hospitality management and cosmetology in the Northern Center, investing in renewable energy, as in the solar PV array by the Shine building, and increasing carbon sequestration by planting trees and composting. So when evaluating the potential future reduction initiatives, the Carbon Neutrality Task Force identified 5 core values that are critical in the selection process. The first, academic engagement, providing opportunities to faculty and student research and class engagement. Agility and adaptability. Technology is quickly changing, so the carbon neutrality plan will be reviewed every 2 years to see what new opportunities may exist. Financial stability, sustainability, using our resources wisely and implementing technologies that provide us a competitive advantage while reserving our remaining resources and standing ready to act when new technologies become available. Reporting transparency, having trackable and measurable initiatives. And finally, service reliability. With our remote location and harsh climate, not really indicative of today, but it's coming. Selecting reliable systems that can be serviced locally is critical, especially when considering that over 60% of our emissions are produced through our heating systems. The past initiatives have put NMU in very good position, with NMU having one of the lowest carbon footprints of the universities in the state, and having reduced our purchase of electricity by over 29% since 2011. So the plan includes a commitment to sustainable investing, as Gavin just mentioned. So the work towards achieving each carbon reduction target, potential initiatives have been identified based on the recommendations of the engineering consultant. So the potential initial investments to reduce our carbon emissions by 25% to 25,000 metric tons per year by 2030 include reducing energy use by continuing to convert lighting to LED, also transitioning 10 to 15% of the university's vehicle fleet to hybrid or electric vehicles. We currently have over 110 vehicles. So to support the optimizing infrastructure strategy, the Hardin Hall renovation will result in significant energy reduction and will allow for the demolition of Grease Hall, also supporting the strategy of right-sizing campus. So Hardin Hall currently has our highest energy cost of all our buildings on campus. So I'm really excited to see how much we can impact that with our improvements to our electrical and mechanical systems. So next would be investing in renewable energy. Projects include studying the opportunity to install a rooftop solar PV system on the Wellbeing Center and potentially partnering with the Marquette Board of Light and Power on a utility scale solar installation. So currently at the Ripley plant, we are burning natural gas in the combined heat and power plant, and we are bought out on natural gas until 2027. So to potentially shift the CHP plant to an alternative fuel by 2027, we will study enhancements to the plant to improve its efficiency and to keep operational costs close to that of burning natural gas. The fifth strategy, increasing carbon sequestration, includes expanding pre-consumer composting, which we currently do, to post-consumer composting. And this initiative is well on its way in the university's dining operations. And expanding our no-mow areas on the main campus from 18 to 31 acres, which translates to an increase from 9% to 15% of our campus grounds. To reach 50% carbon emission reductions to 16,000 metric tons per year by 2040, we will continue with similar initiatives, along with considering the potential expansion of our CHP plant at the Ripley plant. Reaching carbon neutrality by 2050 will depend on what was previously implemented and what new technologies are available. So we went out and sought feedback on our draft carbon neutrality plan by hosting 4 informational sessions. 2 were in person and 2 were online. And we presented the draft plan also to several classes in the EAGS department and College of Business, and to community members in the Marquette County Climate Adaptation Task Force. With all this, the Carbon Neutrality Task Force engaged with over 75 stakeholders. During information sessions, Dr. Jess Thompson and I summarized the university's carbon neutrality plan and its objectives, as well as highlighted some of the projects already in place or completed. The task force also created a feedback survey for stakeholders to ask questions and provide feedback about the draft plan. The survey was available for the month of October and was completed by 37 stakeholders. The draft plan also received extensive media coverage through the Northwind, TV6, and the Mining Journal. The results of the feedback were that more than 80% of participating stakeholders reported being satisfied with the draft plan. We always shoot for the A, but in the court of public opinion, 80% is really good. So we were happy. So some of the comments that we received from the survey, and I'll read it verbatim. I really like that it relies heavily on changes made to infrastructure/operations, not just carbon credits. This makes the plan impactful locally, which sets an impressively high bar for other universities in the region. I love, and in all caps, that the plan includes objective, measurable, and time-bound commitments. Another comment was, I think this is a great plan and reflective of our people and culture. In the listening sessions, the feedback from several students was that they were excited that the university actually has a plan. I think there's only 4 in the state who do. And that the plan forward, it has a path forward that has specific goals and has identified tactics on how to achieve them. And that the plan is practical and doable. So, in regards to improvements or suggestions, from the survey respondents, they basically fell into 3 thematic categories. 1, scope 3 emissions, 2, campus and community engagement, and 3, divestment. Perfect. So, regarding scope 3 emissions, many participants noted that scope 3 greenhouse gas emissions were not included in the plan, nor discussed as an area of future accounting or management. Specific observations were made in regards to employee commuting, student commuting, university-sponsored travel, and purchasing of material goods. As respondents explicitly noted, or few respondents explicitly noted that the university should address scope 3 emissions in the document and include a plan for monitoring these emissions. So as a result, the plan has been changed to make clearer that NMU chose to focus on scope 1 and 2 because that these emissions can currently be measured and controlled. Based on the feedback, though, the task force has more clearly outlined the review period for the plan to be every 2 years. So between now and the first review, Northern will explore which of the 15 scope 3 emission categories can be accurately measured and monitored. And we realize that monitoring scope 3 emissions may require revisions to our current business operations and data collection procedures. So second, the most prevalent concern raised by the survey respondents was about engaging greater campus community in efforts to achieve carbon neutrality. It is clear that the participants would appreciate increased communication about current initiatives and involvement in tracking the university's progress towards decarbonization. Specific questions and suggestions included ideas about how classes, local businesses, and community partners can be involved in the tracking and even fundraising for these carbon neutrality projects. So as President Tessman discussed, additional support will be provided to SHINE to increase communication to campus and also campus involvement. So third, divestment. The changes that were just approved regarding the university's divestment policy will be incorporated into the carbon neutrality plan. So speaking of hitting the ground running, we have several projects positioned to begin, including converting lighting to LED in several buildings, implementing energy-saving improvements to the mechanical systems within the science complex, and studying the type, quantity, and location of EV charging stations, and also studying improvements to the Ripley plant for using alternative fuels with the U.S. Forest Service. So as a final point of discussion, the carbon neutrality plan should be thought in the same lines as the campus master plan, in that it's an opportunity plan that identifies potential initiatives to be considered as funding opportunities become available. So with that, is there any questions?
Thank you, Kathy. I think I'm going to ask Brock to maybe add a little bit before we open it up for questions, if
Sure.
that's okay.
Yeah, Chair Young, sorry, and I'm happy to wait until after questions. Sorry for that, misunderstanding.
Any questions?
Yes, I did have one question, Kathy.
Yes.
You said there are 37 responses. Do we know what type of stakeholders they were? I don't know if that's part of the
Yes.
questions.
I do. 14 students, 13 employees, and 10 community members.
Oh, so a nice mix.
A nice
Great.
mix.
All right, thank you.
I had a question on the LED conversions. What's the rate of return on that? If we convert to 100%, how long will it take us to recoup those costs?
Typically, with conversions of LED lighting, depending on how long the fixtures are on. But typically, it's 2 to 3 years or less. So it is a very good investment. Low hanging fruit, easy low hanging fruit.
Yeah.
So
And I'm assuming it's costly because LED lights are they're higher cost than regular lighting, but that would be the recoupment period, even with that higher cost.
So it's costly for our campus because we have so many lights. So it's like $2 million. Yeah. So part of the plan we have to get to like 50% conversion by 2030, and I think that was like $800,000, or it was 560. So it's 7 years at $80,000 per year, and we already have that built into our long-term maintenance budget. So I've got plans for Cohotus in the science complex for this year. So we'll see how many. We've got it ready to go for bids. So we'll see how far we can get with the 80,000.
Wow.
But so we just got to keep making progress towards it. It's just because of the quantity that it's expensive.
All set? Okay, thank you, Kathy.
All right,
Appreciate it
thank
very
you.
much. Brock, you want to turn it over
Yeah.
to you now?
Thanks, Chair Young. And just kind of trying to wrap all of this back together. First of all, Kathy, thank you very much for that presentation, and to the other members of the task force. This is a document that's such a good fit for Northern. It's ambitious, but it's also realistic. And so we're gonna move along with this plan. We're gonna achieve the benchmarks. If you know me, I can tend to be a bit impatient, and so you see things like 2030, 2040, 2050, and it feels a long way off. But this is a real plan that we can really follow, and the things that are in there, from the LED light conversion, a focus on energy and how we get our energy. These are the kind of tangible actions we can take so that we see real progress. And I think the plan also is adaptable, and that's the way the world works right now. Kathy, you did such a good job of saying, look, technologies are changing. The costs associated with some of these strategies will shift as efficiencies improve over time. And then there are also just responsible steps we need to take. We can't credibly commit to a timeline in Scope 3 until we measure it. And can assess what all of these indirect emissions are. I mean, our travel, commuting students who come in, and what that means for our campus. I mean, the nature of the materials and the furniture and other materials that make this university physically exist. So what we did is we didn't make a false promise, but we said, look, what we're going to do is get to business and start measuring that, so then we can make a promise about what we can achieve. And I mentioned our faculty, and all the excellent sustainability work that's been happening on this campus for some time. I would be remiss if I didn't emphasize again that Kathy and Jim and Brandon, Gavin, and others on the operations side have really, again, the fact that we were able to do two things at once, which is align ourselves with the university's core values in a really meaningful way. It's also, in almost any scenario that we see likely, going to be a win in terms of the financial returns on our investments. I think there's a strong case to be made that we will see an ability to recruit new students, retain faculty and staff because of what we stand for, walking the walk on things that they care deeply about. And so I think it's a big day in that respect. I hesitate to point out, sort of individuals, but I do want to mention one individual one more time, just because gosh, this is the formal board meeting. I'm gonna say this individual's been already kind of a pain in my butt on a couple of occasions, and I don't know whether that's okay for a president to say that, but Dr. Stock, Ryan Stock, is just this tremendous kind of embodiment of what it means to be a great teacher, a great scholar, but also his work with the Divest NMU students, his persistence. It's always, it's pointed, it's direct, and like I said, it can be really challenging, but I do want to give a special recognition to Ryan and what he has done with the students he's worked with in order to get us to today. So with that, Chair Young, I'd wrap up, but thank the board for its consideration of these important items today.
Thank you, President Tessman. Anybody have any other comments? One of our guests that wanted to address the board was not here when we were at that point in the agenda, but is now here. So if it's okay with the board, I'd like to go back to that and let that person have their 3 minutes before us. So Kathy, could you introduce our speaker?
Yes, Mr. Jonas Trombetta. Did I say that right? You want to come up?
Hello, all. I've been an NMU student here this is the end of my 7th semester. I'm graduating tomorrow. I expect to see all of you there, I think. And I can't say I've ever been to really any kind of board meeting. I'm a botany major. I don't really, like I'm not wearing a suit, but, in my time here, I've walked and rode my bike thousands of miles to and from campus, and it's been a wonderful experience. And I've found the best kind of backway routes, and it's been accessible enough for me. But I always think if it's not accessible if my grandma can't do it, it's not accessible. And I guess what I'm here to emphasize for the future, and everything that we've been talking about with these carbon plans is wonderful, and I don't expect you all to get on it right away because you have a lot on your plate, but I think for these Scope 3 emissions for the future, something that we need to be focusing on is this university-supported public transit, because as more students get enrolled here, as more people come to Marquette, as it grows Marquette as a community, everyone is bringing their cars. And there's this notion that bringing your own car is safer. And maybe it is if everyone else has a car, but for me, who has not had that opportunity the entirety of my time, it's scary. I have been almost hit by a car way too many times. There's not the proper infrastructure for me to get around as I would like to, and as we could, and just to have a happier and healthier, more community-oriented situation. I lived in Denmark for my junior year of high school and really got a scope of what it means to be a publicly transporting community. I've been attending the MarkTran monthly meetings just to kind of see what's up. I haven't said anything yet. My associate, Madison, has brought up the Better Map system, but I think we should I'm from Minnesota, and Minnesota Duluth has this absolutely wonderful bus system. It's $18 per semester for student for unlimited rides. It's $80 per year for faculty for unlimited rides, and it is wonderful. They have electric buses in their fleet. They do all kinds of stuff for the students. So I think moving forward in the future, it is something that, as I have brought people up that I'm going to come talk here, they've been like, what? I haven't had a lot of personal support, but I think that it's very important for the future and something that we need to be considering, and that we have an entire department young, bright students to help us on in the EAGS. I was pointing to Susie Ziegler. Shout out, Susie. Thank you.
Thank you, Jonas. Appreciate your comments. Okay, at this time, I'd like to call on Provost Dale Kapla to introduce our student commencement speaker.
Thank you and good morning. Chair Young, members of the board, President Tessman. One of the special components of tomorrow's graduation ceremony is the student speaker's commencement address. I am pleased to introduce the student who was selected to address the graduates tomorrow, Ms. Rebecca Allen. Rebecca, can you please join me? I'm good. Good. Thank you. Right here. Rebecca came to NMU from Millington, Michigan in the fall of 2020 as a first-generation college student. She will graduate magna cum laude tomorrow with a degree in English, creative writing, and a minor in psychology. Yes, she is graduating in less than 4 years. Rebecca started working as a DJ at NMU Radio X during her freshman year. In her sophomore year, she joined Passages North, our literary magazine, where she worked her way up to an editor position. Sigma Tau Delta, the English Honor Society, and the American Sign Language Club. She did all of this while working various jobs around Marquette. Fun fact about Rebecca, while in high school, she won 8 student Emmy Awards for accomplishments such as news writing and reporting, anchor talent, and the production of several lead stories for the Davidson Community School TV program. After graduation, Rebecca will continue to write and submit her work for publication. She hopes to start graduate school in the fall for a master's degree in literature and creative writing. The theme of Rebecca's address tomorrow is lifelong learning and the opportunity to be more than one thing during our lives. Congratulations, Rebecca. Chair Young, if you could please join us.
Plaque here for you, Rebecca. It says, student commencement speaker, Rebecca Allen, December 16th, 2023. You know what, when we have the board come up, we got a couple extra minutes, we'll get a picture of all of this. Okay?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much. Yes, that is better, but we're all good. But.
Oh, Derek, you'll push those around.
Sorry. Where do you want us, Derek? Let's keep her in the center. Okay. We got our mom here, too. Congrats.
Thank you so much.
You want to do 2 layers? Okay. Don't want to be on crutches tomorrow.
No, that's not the plan.
All right, super.
Thank you so much. Yes, thank you. Thanks. Oh, congratulations. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, everybody. I'd like to, at this time, call on President Tessman, who will introduce our Student Choice Award recipient and commencement speaker.
Fantastic. What I'll do is actually go up to the podium for this because okay. All right. Thank you, Chair Young. And this is a real honor. I think, of course, we have a number of fantastic awards on this campus to recognize faculty, but it's my pleasure to introduce the winner of this year's Northern Michigan University Student Choice Award. And the winner of this award has the opportunity to serve as our commencement speaker at tomorrow's commencement ceremony, which is a big deal, of course. But I hope the winners of this award really value the process. And the process for selecting the award winner here runs through our Associated Students of Northern Michigan University, ASNMU. And so ASNMU runs a nomination process where all students who are eligible to graduate have an opportunity to nominate a faculty member who's had a tremendous impact on their academic life, personal mentorship, really overall experience at Northern Michigan University. And so to have that endorsement of the students who are graduating is just about the biggest compliment that a faculty member can receive. And this year, the recipient of the Student Choice Award is Dr. Stacy Boyer Davis. Stacy, can you come on up here and allow us to congratulate you as you walk up, and then I'll read a few things about your background and what you bring to the table. Congratulations, Stacy. So I think many of you know Stacy. It's in my notes to say this, but I have to just start with it. There really may not be a faculty member who's more present all around campus than you are. And you're always outside. You don't catch you driving around too much. And no matter what the weather, you always take time to stop and say hello and chat. And I think we talk a lot about the student experience. We talk a lot about the quality of the work-life experience here at Northern. Part of what makes this a special place is that we do take a minute to say hello to each other and check in on each other. And I just want to start by pointing out that that's an outstanding aspect of what you bring to campus. More technically, in terms of your faculty role, gosh, you've been here for about 6-7 years now, and I didn't know this about you, Stacy, but you have your role now, an associate professor in the College of Business. You are assistant department head. You're the head of the MBA program. You're a head of the accounting program, which we just heard great things about. So you have such an active role here at NMU. But you also understand the inner workings of the university from a slightly different perspective. And you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought I heard you share yesterday that in Pennsylvania, where you came from, you're on the business side, on the accounting side of university kind of administration. And you understand, I think, the scope of this university in the classroom, working with students, but also the business side of things. And I think that that really is an important aspect of your experience. At NMU, what a track record. We talk a lot about how our faculty excel in multiple areas. And listen, Stacy Boyer Davis has received outstanding research awards. She's received awards for her teaching, multiple awards for her teaching, awards that recognize your excellence in online instruction, your excellence in on-campus instruction, excellence in teaching at the graduate level and at the undergraduate level. So you've basically checked every award box that one could possibly imagine. And I think that that's so well deserved. There was also a recent recognition that captures the impact that you have at the state level. And this is, I'm not an accountant, so I didn't know about this, but it's a really prestigious opportunity to be elected to the board of directors for the Institute of Certified Public Accountants in the state of Michigan. And it's kind of a signature achievement for someone at the state level in sort of leading the way that the field is governed at the state level. And so recently we find it added to your list of awards on campus, you have this big recognition off campus. And so that's certainly just a snippet of what you do on this campus. I'll tell you, my first experience here was shaped greatly by your service in a different way. And I convened a presidential learning network in my first few months on this campus. A number of people in this room were part of that network, but Dr. Boyer Davis was also part of that network. And we had great meetings. It wrapped up fairly quickly, but at the end of that network, I asked participants if they wanted to send me a letter. What do you think I need to know? What wisdom would you share with me? And of course, everyone's really busy. So I received some, paragraphs here and there, just kind of notes of thank you. I think within about 2 days, I received a multi-page letter from Dr. Boyer Davis outlining all of the opportunities that she saw for the university. And then very importantly, offering her own service and work and time in order to make some of that possible. And so I'll tell you from a self-centered perspective, just immediately it became apparent of how much of a leader you are on this campus. And so Dr. Stacy Boyer Davis, I congratulate you on this award. I look forward to your commencement address tomorrow, and thank you on behalf of everyone in this room and the entire university. Congratulations. Okay, great. Yeah, is going here?
Thank you, Brock, and congratulations, Doctor. If we can indulge the board for a second, we're a little bit ahead, so what I'd like to do, we've got a break coming up, but I'd like to have Dr. Miyagi maybe, he was scheduled right after the break, come up and do his talk to us. And he's agreed to do that early, so Dr. Miyagi, thank you for being here, as always, and we look forward to what you have to say.
Okay, thank you. Since the Board of Trustees visited the School of Art and Design yesterday, it is appropriate to fill board members in on its history over the last 124 years. The teaching of art goes back to the opening of Northern and was created in a rudimentary form on July 14, 1899. At that time, it was merely called Geography and Drawing, as teachers had to draw maps, and the first teacher was Martha Ackerman. At this time, there was even a course entitled Blackboard Drawing to be used by all teachers. I think at that time you had to pass the course in order to be certified. So we've come a long way. During the early days of the department, Peter White provided special funding for the purchase of art replicas, paintings, lithographs, sculptures, which were found throughout Longyear Hall. The idea was to create a museum effect on campus. Grace Spalding was the most famous art teacher of this era. Graduate of the Pratt Institute, she frequently traveled to Europe to further her artistic experience. She was known for her painting focusing on Middle Island and red huckleberries, and we have some of her paintings in the permanent collection. In 1938, Nadia Larnadelli took over and remained the department until 1946, when Cleobel Harrison succeeded her. In 1965, Richard, or as he was known, Mike Gorski, was hired as the new department head. It was his task to restructure the art department and bring in curriculum change. This was a shift from the earlier emphasis on art as a teaching tool to art as a creative and unique experience. The younger faculty that Gorski hired were experimental artists interested in exploring new media of artistic expression with their students. As evidence of this change in focus, on June 11th, 1966, the name was changed from the Department of Art to the Department of Visual Art. In 1973, the official name became the Department of Art and Design. In August 1972, the Board of Control approved the Bachelor of Fine Arts degree. The result of Gorski's work was the creation of a multifaceted department. Over the years, the department has had scattered quarters around the campus, from facilities in K Hall to Russell Thomas Fine Arts Building. 1970, the offices were moved into the Hardin Center. Then there was a big move to Lee Hall, where the old kitchen was their work area, while other students worked in the Bird's Eye building in North Campus. I just add, if you've ever seen the two statues we have of St. George and Abraham Lincoln, they were in the Bird's Eye building, and the students painted St. George as Superman, and they did something with Lincoln as well. What that did was to preserve the plaster. Eventually, they went back to be painted white, and you see them today. Okay. Many of the work facilities were makeshift with faculty building kills with their own funds. This remained the center of art and design until August 1996, when ultra-modern facilities were opened in the old service building and power plant as a result of President Bill Vandeman's careful financing. At last, art and design had a permanent home. In 2006-2007, Michael Cinelli, under Michael Cinelli, the Board of Trustees approved renaming the department the School of Art and Design. This was done to put the department into a more competitive grouping and provide it with added status. At the time, the department had close to 800 majors, and it's always been a department with a large number of students. The department, through the DeVos Art Museum and the Visiting Art Program, also performs the regional objective of providing students, faculty, and the community with exposure to exhibitions exemplifying the cultural breadth of the visual arts from international, regional, and local sources, including the university's permanent art collection. The department, one of the more popular and vibrant on campus, has gone from geography and drawing with a faculty of 1 to over a dozen to maintain its wide program. Art education, art history, ceramics, computer art, digital cinema, drawing and painting, graphic design, human-centered design, illustration, metalsmithing, sculpture, photography, woodworking, and furniture making, and social media design. As I speak, artificial intelligence, or AI, is being developed in the department, which is continuously preparing students, quote, in the development of unique visual voices within large visual culture. There are other programs that prepare art students as entrepreneurs as they seek to develop art studios and art shops. This is one of a number of departments on campus that has radically expanded and changed over the century and a quarter. It along with music, dance, and theater, successfully promotes and highlights the work of the university. Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor, as always. Very timely, because as he said, we were just at the Arts and Design School yesterday and had dinner there and saw the facilities. So it's interesting to have that background. Thank you, Russ. Okay, we have a break, and if we could, even though we're a little ahead of schedule, we'll still do a 15-minute break. Kathy, is that we're okay there? So we'll be starting a little earlier than it says on the agenda, but trying to be back in. We'll start at 10:45. Thank you. Okay, we're back after our break, and we will go to item 8 on the agenda, which is the AS/NMU update. And we have Gwen Feemster, president of AS/NMU, with us today, who will give us a report. Gwen? Welcome.
Good morning. Thank you guys for having me. I'm here today just to tell you a little bit about what Student Gov's been up to, our plans for the future, and as always, kind of give you an idea of what students are thinking about, what their concerns are, so as we go forward, we can hopefully try to address those. This is my e-board. Myself, my Vice President Micah, and then our treasurer is Elijah White, and our chair of the assembly is Janessa Brown. So a big thing for us this year was recruitment. When I was first elected as vice president last year, we had about 3 people returning to the assembly. So this is our new assembly. Definitely more than 3 people. We're very insanely proud of it. Everybody with an asterisk has been appointed this semester. So we're growing. We have new representatives. One I'm personally excited about. We haven't had a College of Business rep in a really long time. Now we do. And we are growing. We have a functioning judiciary branch, which we haven't had in a second. We are starting to get back to a really good, healthy size. What our academic affairs team is working on. Right now, we're still trying to work on our grief absence policy. Essentially, this is when a loved one dies in a student's family, they have an excused amount of time off from their classes so they can be with their families, they can mourn, and attend whatever services that they need to go to. Although you might not think it'd be a problem, it is a problem, and it's typically an unexpected problem. When a loved one dies, a lot of times for students, they're not expecting it. So having a grief absence policy in place, something we've been working on for a long time, before my time at ASNMU, we're really hoping to work and get that through. We're also working on an emergency contraceptive vending machine. We have a meeting about that one this afternoon. Essentially, it's a vending machine on campus that would provide over-the-counter medications like ibuprofen, Tylenol, but also day-after pills and other forms of contraceptives. Being as a semi-rural institution, we think that it'd be really helpful to have this healthcare available on campus and available to all students. And we're working with facilities. I believe President Tessman has a council on gender and sexuality. I believe we're working with them as well to get this going. As for other institutions that have something similar, Michigan State kind of does, but we're working with them and a bunch of other schools across the country to put something like this in place. Most schools in the state of Michigan do not yet have something like this, so we would be kind of a front runner. Our student affairs team, they have a lot of really great stuff going on. We've been doing town halls. We're trying to get more back into the students, getting opinions. We just opened up a survey box on our social media. I don't know why we didn't have that to begin with. So now students can come to us directly, anonymously, and provide feedback on what they want to see and what we can do. We're trying to do town halls in which we go into the dorms or the classrooms. We say, hello, come to us. What are your issues, your grievances? What do you want to see done better? And students have been coming to us and letting us know what we aren't seeing. We are looking to relocate our career closet. The career closet is one of our most used and successful programs, probably aside from the period project and grad closet. And essentially, it gives students one free professional outfit every single semester. So if you have an interview or you just need to look nice for something, you can come to us, get an outfit for free. Right now, it's in Grease Hall. And with the future of Grease, we thought it'd be best to look into relocating it. And we're actually partnering with Career Services and to put it in their office. So that way when students come to get their professional outfit, they can maybe get a headshot, get their resumes printed, work on their resume, or even get some interview prep. We're very excited with this partnership because not only are you getting skills that you'll need, but the outfit that you'll need for that interview as well. One of our newer developments, we're bringing our bike share back. I met with Rec Sports a couple weeks ago, and we're looking to partner with them. The bike share was discontinued during COVID, just a lot of logistical and health concerns with that one. But essentially, it gave students a bike to rent. We had 16 bikes, and they could rent them for free to get around town for up to a week for free. It didn't require a rec pass, and I was told that again before my time, but I was told a lot of international students who simply could not have cars utilized it a lot. So we're trying to bring it back. It will, as of right now, the plans that are and conversations that are being had, it'd be located in Quad 2 by the Fat Tire bike rental. Rec Sports would be willing to utilize their systems so that they could rent out our bikes just like they do with the pre-existing Fat Tire bike program. ASNMU would be funding it, we'd help them repair it, and buy whatever was needed to do so. So we're excited to hopefully see that coming in the future. We have a lot going on. We're revising our guiding documents, including our Constitution. Currently, there's representation for Halverson, Payne, Gant. We don't need representation for Gant, Halverson, and Payne anymore. So we're revising our Constitution to look more like how we actually operate. Another big one, we're looking at potentially raising our student activity fee. Right now it is $37.12 a semester. That is significantly lower to our other institutions, especially looking at Michigan Tech, even Lake State, and when you look at the bigger schools downstate, it's kind of scary. With rising entertainment costs and rising costs in general with inflation, our EFGs, which are the funded groups that put on events and activities like the concerts, homecoming, stuff like that, they actually don't have enough money to operate efficiently or as they had in the past. So by potentially raising the student activity fee, we're giving them the funds they need to operate, bring big entertainment to campus, and overall really good enrichment for our students. This is something students have to vote on. We simply just put it on the ballot in April, and students are going to be the ones to vote on it. But that committee is working to determine a fee. We're hoping to have a fee in March so we can start publicizing in April. So by the end of April, students are knowledgeable about what they're voting on. So what are students thinking about? With the rise of inflation and rising costs in Marquette, on-campus wages are on students' minds. Understanding the complexities of wages and unions and all of the fun stuff in between, we understand that this is not something that can happen overnight, but the wage that we get paid on campus is hard to kind of come by, especially with housing costs in Marquette and rising food costs. It's getting kind of hard to live on. So this is something we hope to at least bring awareness to, bring to your attention that this is something that students are struggling with as the cost of living in Marquette goes up. We're hoping to see some action on that. Similarly, housing, this is something that we've talked about previously. Again, with that cost of living going up, that cost of rent going up, it's hard for students to find places to live, especially as enrollment at NMU increases. We're excited enrollment's rising, but if there's nowhere for us to live, we can't continue to come back. And that's going to affect enrollment, and the housing market's scary. From a personal experience, I just signed a lease and I don't even move in until May, but I'm worried I won't have a place. And that is not an uncommon fear for us students. Thirdly, environmental impact and sustainability. I believe you guys heard from Jonas this morning. I've been speaking to him on increasing transportation and bikes and walking and utilizing public transportation more. So we're going to be looking into that as we move towards divestment and more sustainable actions. We're super excited about that. All the students I've talked to are thrilled, but we're excited to see what we can be doing in other areas, specifically with transportation. And then lastly, always on the forefront of people's minds, our diversity. We want to become a more diverse institution where everyone can feel that they belong, matter, and are loved. So we look forward to seeing how we can improve these things in the future. Are there any questions?
Could you go back to that last slide?
Absolutely. Maybe.
Are those in priority, or are they just?
They're just kind of listed. I'd say they're all of equal importance.
Gwen, I had a question on the, the career closet, and how are students made aware that that's available to them, but also students made aware that they could bring clothes to that facility?
That's a great point. A lot of our donations are from the community, local businesses, people who've been donating for a long time. They'll do clothing drives at their offices and bring us clothing. As for students, we tend to market a lot of word of mouth. That's how we tend to get students. Also posters, social media and stuff. But we will be trying to increase our communication this coming semester about it. It's a great program.
Yeah, it really is.
And we want people to use it. And we hope that working with career services, it gets out there more too, now that we're getting closer to students and in a reachable location.
Perhaps one other question, Gwen. We were able to hear from some of the commuter students yesterday. Are they fairly active or robust in your membership for ASNMU?
Yeah, so I can pull up our yes, so we have quite a few. Mia, Alec, Caleb are all off-campus commuter students. I myself am a commuter student, and then my vice president as well is a commuter student. So there's about 5 of us. Dana, although she lives in the on-campus apartments, she's the one kind of heading the commuter stuff in partnership from what I've seen with Alec. So we are here, and we are excited to see the commuter experience get better.
Okay, wonderful, thanks.
Yeah.
You know, if I could follow up on that, because at that lunch yesterday, we all sat with a commuter student and talked, and the issue of parking came up.
I did hear
And the
about
fee
this.
that, the fee that's charged to a student that lives on campus is the same as this fee that's charged to a commuter student, even though they may only have their car here a couple times a week. Is that something you hear about from the commuter students as well?
I haven't heard about it until yesterday, but when I heard about it, I was like, yeah, that doesn't really make sense. I think commuter students, considering they aren't here very often, it could be something worth looking into because costs of everything are rising. And even if it's just like a X dollar amount decrease in that parking pass, students would appreciate it, and it might incentivize, I don't know, cover to the university a little more. We have cheap parking passes, but if we lower it, they like that.
Questions for Gwen? Okay, thank you, Gwen.
Thank you,
Appreciate your
guys.
service. Okay, we'll go to item 9 on our agenda, the staff report. We have Tyler Thompson, president of the TOP Union, to provide that report.
Right. I'm going to adjust this because I am notoriously a soft-spoken person, and we're going to try to avoid that this morning. Good morning, trustees and administration. Thank you for having me here. Stated, my name is Tyler Thompson. I'm the current president of the local 1950 TOPS union here on campus. I'm also a admin assistant in the College of Graduate Studies and Research. I'm here to not only represent my union, but to also represent the AP union here on campus and the AFSCME union. Bunch of great folks that work in all three factions that just day in, day out keep this place running and just shining. But to get into why I'm here, Andy back in September gave a great introduction to the Staff Labor Council. It's a union of unions here on campus for all the staff. And we've been up to a few things since then. Starting off, I'm going to, much like Andy did in September, I'm going to call it RIA here. We've been working with RIA Deaver and Renee Sheen in HR. We have been developing two primary things. The first being an onboarding session. We've discovered that there's no true onboarding session for staff like there is yearly for incoming faculty. It's a shortage that could really help new staff hit the ground running, even if there's a gap in time from when they start to when they hit this onboarding session. Our first one is scheduled for January 9th. It's our pilot session. We're really hoping that it kind of helps everybody get acclimated to campus and feel welcomed. The other aspect that we've been working on are staff development, professional staff development, and working on opportunities to help our staff grow here on campus, and if they truly want to make a career of Northern, helping them to do that. And through staff development, it's going to be one of the main ways that we can help them do that. And just in general, creating opportunities for them to attend these staff development sessions. It would cover anything from systems like Banner and Concur that we use day in, day out, just to make sure that we know what we're doing and to really help this university thrive and run. The next thing that we have been working on is completing our council for our staff labor council. We now all have our members at large for each group. So our council consists of, from the AP unit, we've got Andy Hill and Kathy Frazier as their president and vice president, and then Kylie Bunting as their member at large. From our group, we have myself and Laura Klisch as president and vice president, and then Carolyn Robertson from Theater as our member at large. And then for AFSCME, we have Don Sabilski as president, Steve Terez as vice president, and Kevin Price as their member at large. Now that we have our full council, we're kind of really getting into the thick of things on what we can address and move forward on. And kind of much like our new positions here on campus, hit the low-hanging fruit that can help staff feel as if they have a true place here on campus and feel comfortable. So in that effort, we've been surveying our different groups, garnering what their needs and wants are, what they're happy with, what they're not happy with. And we will shortly come together and compare these surveys, look for commonalities, anything that we're all seeing as a group between all three unions, any differences that we might be able to bridge as well. And in that same vein of thought, we will start to look at our contracts as well. If we can find commonalities to, heck, bargaining is a hard time for all of us, and if we can find commonalities and smooth the road when bargaining comes along, we'd love to do that. So that's what we're up to. That's where we're going, and hopefully we can keep this line of communication open, which is very much appreciated, to help that along. Thank you.
Thank you, Tyler. If you hang out, see if you got any questions. Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thanks for your
everyone.
report. Okay, we'll go to item 10 on the agenda now, and that's the president's report. So we call on President Tessman.
All right. Thank you, Chair Young. Appreciate this opportunity to address the board, and as I'm sure has been the case for every president who's ever given this report, there's way too much to draw from here. Anything that I offer is really just a selection of the fantastic things happening on campus, and I certainly don't want to belabor the point, but I can tell you on behalf of our campus, there is, of course, a lot of excitement about what's been done and what's to come with respect to the sustainability package that you heard about today. And just because of the nature of these initiatives, it is important to highlight one more time what the financial expectations are of some of the endowment decisions that you made. And as a president of this university, really thinking about that alignment with investment priorities and return on investment and our core values is very important. And I think you saw in the presentation, 75% of the likely market scenarios that we see coming down the road will generate a greater return on the investment with this new portfolio than what we had with the existing portfolio. And just really wanted to highlight that that's an important part of the equation here as well. The second thing with respect to that, I think it goes without saying, but sometimes it's easy to miss this point. Our sustainability work here now today absolutely must connect and will benefit from connecting with our Indigenous communities on campus and off campus. We have a great Center for Native American Studies, a new director arriving later this spring, fantastic faculty. Had a chance to get to know our Native American Student Association quite a bit over the last year or so. And I think that's a partnership, and there's experience, there's wisdom, there's insight, there are ideas that we can draw from that community on campus, and then also tribal communities in the Upper Peninsula. And we have great partnerships, and we'll just look to build them as we move forward in this area of sustainability strategy. The last one, I have been a faculty member. I started out as a full-time faculty, worked through non-tenure track positions, through the tenure track, ultimately to a tenured full professor position. And so I understand the importance of faculty autonomy with the curriculum. And as president, that's something I feel very, very strongly about. So with that in mind, I'd love to challenge our faculty, and I would love to see from our faculty through the committee structures that are in place ways in which we can expand on all the excellence that we have with respect to sustainability and connect it across departmental boundaries and across college boundaries, so that regardless of the major that a student has or a specific professor or course that they may interact with, that students here have the ability to experience sustainability-related education, no matter what the form. This isn't about one angle on the topic, but no matter what the form, that our students have a chance to experience that. Because of all the impacts we have, Kathy Richards, LED lighting, the ways we get our energy, the vehicle fleet, the biggest impact that the university will have on the world is through the graduates that we produce. And so the educational experience here, I think, is a really important way for us to build on our sustainability efforts. Next section of the president's report. Communication is so tough to get right, and I tell everyone on our team, and I think this campus is constantly reminded, it's hard to bat 1,000 on communication, and so we miss opportunities many times, but we're doing a lot of good things on this campus right now to make sure that we bring along our students, our staff, our faculty, and our community members as we address new initiatives or as we work through challenges. And so this fall, there have been a few kind of tangible ways in which that's come to fruition. We relaunched a university forum concept that served as kind of an open venue for community members and campus members to ask questions of administration, to hear about some new initiatives or projects underway, and we'll continue that headed into the winter term. We have launched a more formalized university assembly, which draws from, again, student, staff, faculty, administrators, community members, and that meets once a semester, again, to talk about items of common interest, emerging topics across the university, an information clearinghouse, so to speak. Information can kind of flow, I guess, down the hill from administration, but also it's an opportunity for us to hear from unit level kind of grassroots concerns and make sure those concerns are heard. As I've mentioned before, Vice President Leach and his team in finance and administration is preparing to launch a series of budget workshops that will build awareness around the budget process, the budget timeline, which is, of course, a topic of great interest. And on a more regular basis, meetings with Gwen and Micah, ASNMU, meetings with the Staff Labor Council that you just heard about, meetings with our faculty union leadership. Every month I meet with those groups, explicitly not in a bargaining context, of course, really not to talk about just business, but to build trust, openness, and a habit of communicating with each other as early and as often as possible. So on that communication side of things, we're trying some new things so that we bat closer to 1,000. Of course, it'll always be imperfect, but it's an important part of building a stronger university community. Number one thing that always drives us forward are our people. And I guess just you have a meeting like this and you get to meet some of the outstanding people at Northern and in the community. It just is self-evident. But I wanted to take an opportunity to highlight a few more accomplishments and kind of landmark moments for the people of Northern. And again, want to emphasize this is just a slice of the pie, so to speak. We have two Indigenous students who have had the opportunity to participate at the national level and at the global level in really important kind of policy making, thought leadership forums. So Riley Dialman was invited to the White House to participate in the White House Tribal Youth Forum, and Riley's an enrolled member of the Little River Band of Ottawa Indians and is pursuing an associate's degree here at Northern. Even further afield, Zoe Fess was one of 185 Indigenous students in the entire world, right? 185 is a lot, but in the entire world, to be invited to Rome, Italy, as part of the United Nations Global Indigenous Youth Forum. And so we're really proud of both Riley and Zoe and the way that they're representing Northern, but also representing their communities and making a difference. A little bit closer to home, on campus, our own Amara Bridger-Wilson. I think some of you have met Amara. I have. She's doing fantastic work at the library around not only her sort of day-to-day responsibilities, but projects like the Open Educational Resources Project. This is a low-cost or zero-cost textbook project that increases affordability and quality for our students. I don't know if you knew this. I think it's about $1,300 a year that a typical student will spend on textbooks. And so we talk a lot about tuition and fees. It's important not to neglect the textbook slice of the pie. And so Amara's doing great work in that area, but I'm mentioning her today because she was accepted into the American Library Association's Emerging Leaders Program. And the ALA is the flagship organization nationally for librarians. And so it's a major kudos to Amara, but also our library staff, which I think we all know faculty and staff in the library are top notch. This next individual, I don't know is it Bill Dignat? Bill Dignite. I think we all know Bill, but Bill and a number of others. But in his capacity as director of SISU, the Innovation Institute, he received the Culture of Innovation Award from Trend Hunter, which someone like me, I know Trend Hunter. I'm aware of that. It's a big time organization, and in Toronto we had a large contingent there. Bill and his work through SISU. Bill was recognized kind of on the global stage. And so a big deal, continuing to help Northern think about what's next in really creative and important ways. Fairly quickly, because I don't want to take up too much of your time. Catherine Bourne, a Youper from the Sioux, was recognized as our 2023 Student Veteran of the Year. I think you know that we have a large veteran contingent here on our campus. Mike Rutledge and others, but Mike leading our Veteran Affairs office does a terrific job. And I think supporting student success in all arenas is important to us, including that veterans population. And Catherine, if you have a chance to read her story in your board materials, a tremendous experience overseas in the UAE, in Dubai, and has come back, brought some of her kind of mechanical expertise back to our campus after winning a number of awards through her service. And she's working towards she earned an associate's degree in clinical lab sciences. It is now working towards her bachelor's degree. And so fantastic to see Catherine awarded in this way. Just a couple more, and I'm greedy here because I get to enjoy the fruits of this individual's excellence. But Derek Estes, who's worked in our dining, catering, event services for a number of years, from an operations manager to a number of different capacities, was named our executive chef a couple of months ago, and maybe even more notably, was just named the UP Culinarian of the Year. And if you've had any of our food, enjoyed that, you understand why he was given that award. I want to give a big shout out to Derek and actually the entire staff who just work incredibly hard to support meetings like this. Our EAGS department, who I mentioned earlier with respect to sustainability, of course, on the research and creative scholarship side of things is doing big things, but I want to spotlight their work on behalf of students right now. And I got an email from Veronica Cusack and Susie Ziegler earlier this semester, letting me know that they were taking a group of students down to Chicago to present at like a graduate level, professional level conference. And these are undergraduate students. They did outstanding work. They were recognized, kind of award winners, near award winners throughout. And it was just neat to learn a little bit about that process and get another reminder of how extensively our faculty go above and beyond the call of duty, including taking students, hundreds of miles away in order to present their research. And really want to highlight Veronica and Susie, and the two of those students, as I mentioned, Mary Kelly and Julia Leitz, placed first and second in the overall undergraduate paper award competition. So congratulations to all of the people of Northern. Wrapping up, we'll have some new people joining us. I am excited. We're not quite there yet, but in the next few weeks, we'll be able to announce a new provost and vice president of academic affairs and a new assistant vice president for diversity and inclusion, who will work alongside the assistant vice president for sustainability and the assistant vice president of well-being, who I believe is seated right behind me, Abigail Weich. These three positions together, as part of our people, culture, and well-being pillar, represent the three components of the Okanagan Charter. And I think Carrie Schuling is here, Dale Kapla is here, Abigail Weich is here, Jim Haveman is not here, but there are so many individuals who brought that Okanagan Charter to NMU. We signed it, and the pledge we made was not to just sign it, but to actually act on it. And so now we've reorganized a significant portion of the university so that we can take the lead in living up to the call to action through the Okanagan Charter. And I want to thank Rhea Deaver for her leadership in that area. Really excited to have you update this board in the next year or so on the progress we're making. Chair Young, I've gone on for way too long, but there's so much good news to share. I want to thank you for the opportunity.
Any questions of President Tessman or comments? Okay, thank you, Brock. Okay, the next item are committee reports, and we'll start with the Academic Affairs Committee, and I'll call on Trustee Fattanti to give us a report on their recent meeting.
An Academic Affairs Committee meeting of the Board of Trustees of Northern Michigan University was held on December 15th, 2023. The meeting convened at 8:32 a.m. by myself. Committee members present were myself, Trustee Steve Lindberg, Trustee Greg Sepinen, Trustee Greg Toutant, Chair Steve Young, ex officio, and President Tessman, ex officio. The committee received informational reports and presentations on the following: Academic Senate, charter schools, impact of the College of Business, and the meeting adjourned at 9:14 a.m.
Thank you, Trustee Fatante. Next, we'll get a report on our Finance Committee, and I would call on Trustee Sepinen to give us a report on that meeting.
Thank you, Chair. The meeting of the Finance Committee of the Board of Trustees of Northern Michigan University was convened at 3:07 Thursday, December 14th, in the Peninsula 2 room of Northern Center by the designated chair, myself, Greg Sepinen. Excused absence from the meeting were committee members Melissa Holmquist and Chair Alexis Hart. Chair Hart approved Trustee Sepinen as her designee. Also present at the meeting were members of the committee, Board of Trustees members, Finance Administration, Division staff, and Anderson Tackman auditors. Although members of the Board of Trustees were present at the meeting, only committee members were participating in the meeting. The committee was provided the following informational updates: budget and financial key indicators for December 2023, and status update on the ongoing capital projects. The committee accepted the following reports as written: internal audit issues report and proposed 2024 audit plan, the CPB 2022-23 audit of WNMU TV and WNMU FM financial statements. The committee recommended that the board approve the following, which are included in the board formals: the external auditor, Riemann Robeson, 5-year contract extension, and the temporary liquor license. The meeting was adjourned at 3:42.
Thank you, Trustee Sepinen. Appreciate that report. We will now go on to item 12, which is action on the formal recommendations, and I would ask for a motion and a second to approve the formal recommendations as presented.
I'll make the motion to go ahead and accept the formals.
Okay, second?
Second.
Okay, and we will take a vote on this. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Those opposed, nay. The motion is carried. The next item is chair and vice chair elections for calendar year 2024. And at this time, I would call on any nominations we'll call for any nominations from the floor.
I move to elect Trustee Steve Young as chair and Trustee Alexis Hart as vice chair for calendar year 2024.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, is there any discussion?
I'd just like to say that I want to thank Chair Young and Trustee Hart for all their hard work that they've done the last couple of years, and appreciate that they are willing, again, to continue in the positions. And I know it takes up a lot of your time, but we appreciate all your hard work and effort.
Thank you. Thank you. Anybody else? I would just say I'm humbled by this, and I appreciate your confidence and support. And I'm more than happy to do this. I enjoy it, and I think we have a great board, and so I look forward to 2024. So with that, I will ask for Secretary Andrew to take a roll call vote on this motion, please.
Please indicate your vote with a yes or no. Trustee Young?
Aye.
Trustee Fatante?
Yes.
Trustee Sepinen?
Yes.
Trustee Holmquist?
Yes.
Trustee LaPointe Dunham?
Yes.
Trustee Lindberg?
Yes.
And Trustee Toutant?
Yes.
Motion carries with 7-4-0 against.
Thank you. We'll go on to item 14, which is our committee appointments for calendar year 2024. And I'd like to recommend the following appointments, which are the same appointments, the same committee structure we have now, but I'll read them into the record just so they're on the record for next year. So for Academic Affairs, I would like to have Lisa Fatante as chair, Steve Lindberg as a member, Greg Sepinen as a member, and Greg Toutant as a member. For Finance, Alexis Hart will be chair, along with Missy Holmquist, Bridget LaPointe Dunham, and Greg Sepinen as members. Executive Committee will be Steve Young as chair, Lisa Fatante, Alexis Hart, and President Tessman. The Ad Hoc Policy Review Committee will be Missy Holmquist as chair, along with Lisa Fatante, Steve Lindberg, and Greg Toutant as members. And as our NMU Foundation Board ex officio members, I would ask that Lisa Fatante and Alexis Hart continue in that role. And I would also point out that as ex officio members of our three standing committees, Brock and myself will serve as ex officio committee members on Academic Affairs, Finance, and the Ad Hoc Policy Review Committee. So with that, I would ask for a motion and a second to approve the recommended standing committee appointments for 2024.
Chair Young, I move that the NMU Board of Trustees approve the recommended appointments to the board standing committees for the calendar year 2024.
Second?
I will second that.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, I would ask all those in favor of that motion to vote aye.
Aye.
And those opposed? The motion carries. We'll now go to item 15 on the agenda, which is the announcement of the informal sessions. President Tessman.
Thank you, Chair Young. I'd like to announce that the NMU Board of Trustees will hold a closed session in conjunction with the Thursday, Friday, February 15th and 16th, 2024 meetings of the board. Thank you.
Thank you, President Tessman. We will next go to item 16, which is some special special recognitions we have. And I would like to call on Trustee Lindberg for that first special recognition.
The soccer folks here today?
Chair Young, we may be a bit early on the, I don't know.
Yeah, maybe we need, I don't,
Yeah, okay.
wait, I think we should.
What about our second one?
Yes.
We're good there?
Yep.
Okay. Sorry, Steve. We'll get, it's hard to get good help these days, sorry. Okay, so we're going to skip ahead in the special recognitions, and I will call on Trustee Holmquist for the second one.
All right. The NMU board would like to recognize Wildcat cross-country runner Maddie Seismansky, who qualified for the NCAA championships, where she finished 65th out of 260 runners. Maddie, who is a sophomore, also finished 4th at the GLIAC championships. She set a school record while earning her trip to the national meet with 12th place at the NCAA regional championships. The Wildcat cross-country team finished 9th out of 32 teams at the NCAA regionals, Northern's first top 10 finish since 2017. Maddie joins us today along with Coach Jenny Ryan. Congratulations, Maddie, on your NCAA regional and national success.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Come on up.
Trustee Holmquist, I think it's important in this context to also mention a vital accomplishment, which is that the team beat Michigan Tech. Yes, was it at GLIACs? And yeah, okay. So always important to note
Just
that.
want to get that in. Right. That's really cool. Yeah. Get another one, Derek. Yeah, good idea. Congratulations. Are we all set? Okay, we will go back to the first one, and we'll call on Trustee Lindberg for another special recognition. Thanks, Steve.
I'd like to have the soccer team and their coach come on up here when we do this presentation. The NMU women's soccer team had a magical season. And some of the magic they may not have known they did is they turned a soccer illiterate into a fanboy. And I would just like to, recognize that even if you don't understand soccer, the athleticism, the passion, the teamwork that you see on the team was just amazing. And there's one other group that's not here, I don't think, but I think deserves a little bit of recognition. At all the games that I was able to attend, some of the people I got to meet were these most ardent fans of these folks here, and that was their family and their friends who drove long distances in many cases to watch them play. And I don't think that's the first time that they've done that. In fact, we all know that those parents and families and friends, if it weren't for them, we wouldn't be here today because they have been doing that for years. So I'd like to thank your family and friends for being there for you for all those years. They were the wind beneath your wings, but you really flew. So on behalf of the NMU Board of Trustees, I want to take this moment to recognize some Wildcats for their outstanding success this fall. First, congratulations to the NMU's women's soccer team for capturing both the GLIAC regular and tournament titles, the program's first ever conference championships. These titles, along with the team's high national ranking throughout the year, enabled Northern to be a host site for the first round of the NCAA AA tournament and another first for the program. And one which was played on a cold soccer field. Molly Pistorius and Maria Storm became Northern's first women soccer All-Americans. Along with Maria and Molly, 3 other Wildcats, Isabel, Izzy Brusillo, Brooke Pidala, and Gwen Kielinen were selected to the United Soccer Coaches All-District Team. Additionally, John Sandoval was named GLIAC Coach of the Year, while Molly was the GLIAC's Offensive Player of the Year, and Maria the GLIAC's Defensive Player of the Year. The team finished 16-2-4 overall and 9-1-4 in conference action and closed the year ranked 8th in the nation. Here today with us are Coach Sandoval and assistant coaches Laura Wayland, along with senior captains Brianna Musser, Izzy Brusillo, and team members Paige Britton, Callahan Burden, and Ashley Koch. On behalf of the NMU Board of Trustees, congratulations, 2023 Wildcats women's soccer team.
Oh, maybe I don't want that camera.
There you go.
Okay, we have one more special recognition we'd like to make, and at this time I'd like to call on Trustee Sepinen for this portion.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I got to rearrange things here. And I think it's appropriate that we're doing this at a time of sports for recognition, because I kind of look at this as a sport of sorts. And I think Chairman Young has me coming up here because he knows I'm always focused on the money. And yeah, I appreciate that. Northern Michigan University is blessed with excellent faculty, support staff, and administrators. We see this on display every time we come onto campus. Now I've been asked by Chairman Young to recognize the significant achievements by our tag team. We send them down to Lansing to make sure that those in state government know what our mission is and how successful Northern Michigan University can be with the state's help. That tag team is Vice President of Finance and Administration Gavin Leach and Executive Director of Board and Government Relations Deanna Himla. And I'd like them to come up here, please. I know they're really enjoying this. You can tell by that face. Let me give you a couple examples of what they've accomplished over the last couple years. In capital outlay, Gavin and Deanna were successful in presenting the Northern Michigan University's mission to the state legislators and the governor for the transformation of the Career Tech Engineering Technology Facility, which we locals call the Jacobetti Complex. This was a $28.6 million project, with the state providing $20 million through its capital outlay. The construction was just completed in the fall of 2023. While the construction of the Jacobetti Complex was going on, they were down in Lansing again, seeking to further enhance NMU with the Northern Enterprise Center, or as we'll call it, the College of Business. Again, through their exceptional leadership and professional abilities, the state legislators okayed $13.4 million through the capital outlay for the $19.1 million project. Now, at this time, it has not been officially approved, but we're anticipating that it will be very soon.
Monday, it'll be signed.
Okay, she's telling everybody, Monday. Gavin and Deanna provided state leadership in addressing the MESPERS issue to the benefit of NMU and several other state universities. Through their effort, the Michigan Public Act 144 of 2022 was passed. Northern Michigan University received an allocation of $28.1 million. The purpose of the funding is for the payments toward the pension and other post-employment benefits that are unfunded actuarial accrued liabilities associated with the NMU member and pension recipients. Now realize, if the state didn't cover it, that would be coming from our revenue. Gavin and Deanna continued traveling to Lansing, presenting Northern Michigan University's need for further support on this pension issue. Again, they were successful, and NMU received an additional allocation of $18.7 million through the Michigan Public Act 103 of 2023. When you look around campus, we see all the new programs, the initiatives, the building projects, the activities, the increased opportunities for students, faculty, and staff. These efforts are only possible if we have the revenue to make it happen. The Board of Trustees and Northern Michigan University community recognizes that Gavin Leach and Deanna Himla are the major reasons for us getting in this desirable position. Please join me in giving a hand to our Vice President of Finance and Administration, Gavin Leach, and our Executive Director of Board and Government Relations, Deanna Himla. on, Brock. Yeah. And chair. Come on. I could be behind.
Thank you, Steve and Greg, for handling those. Appreciate that very much. And the next item is our trustee emeritus recognition. And I'm going to handle that. And Steve Mitchell, if you want to just stay sitting there for a few minutes, I'm going to say a few words. I don't want you to feel awkward standing up there. So, and then we'll have you come up.
Have a week back and have a week back.
Okay. Okay. Oh, and Missy, too, thank you for your recognition that you did for us as well. It's my pleasure today to talk about Steve Mitchell, who served on this board, and many in this room know Steve. I think there's very few people that don't know Steve in the UP, from what I've learned in my years of knowing him. But Steve was an NMU class of 1967. He's clearly demonstrated the attributes required to receive a trustee emeritus status, which is why this board of trustees voted to grant him emeritus status at our November 3rd, 2022 meeting. Steve served as a distinguished member of the NMU board from 2013 to 2020. During his tenure on the board, he was chair, he was vice chair, he was also chair of the Academic Affairs Committee. He was also a member of the Executive Committee, the Finance Committee, and the Extended Learning and Community Engagement Committee. He served on the Presidential Search Committee, and he was an ex officio member of the NMU Foundation Board. Steve continues to support Northern as a donor to the NMU Foundation, an engaged alumnus, and a champion for NMU students, faculty, and staff. He willingly shares his knowledge by offering wise advice and counsel. He's been a mentor to many, myself included, and there's no doubt he always has the best interest of Northern Michigan University in the forefront. Now, it says here that I'm to add a personal anecdote, and I will do that. Took me a while to think about what I wanted to say, because I have known Steve a long time. And I remember when I was first appointed to the board, Steve was one of the first people to reach out to me and said, let's get together and have lunch. And we did. And he kind of brought me into the process, into the tribe, if you will, and kind of said, here's how we operate, here's what we do, and here's the expectations. And the funny thing is I worked in Lansing for many years, 40-some years. Steve, probably longer than that. But the thing about Lansing is, and it's no different than D.C., but everybody in Lansing thinks they're a big deal. But they're not. Most people aren't. But I can tell you this, Steve is a big deal in Lansing, and he's had a very, very distinguished career. And I'm going to start at a point in time, and there was a lot of things that happened before that, but he goes back to the Reagan-Bush team in the 80s and left that team in 84 to start his own company. He started Mitchell Research and Communications, where he's still a CEO and still going into work every day, which is amazing. But he's a nationally recognized expert in polling and communications. He's been on all the major media outlets: NBC, MSNBC, ABC, BBC, Fox, just name them. And Steve's been on there as an analyst on election night and even non-election items, but just issues of the day. Also in the Detroit area with WDIV, he's been on there many times and continues to be a recognized expert. He's also served not just on this board, he served on many other boards. He served on the Michigan Chamber of Commerce Board. He also, I think he was chair of that board as well. And he also served on the Michigan Society of Association executives yeah, on that board as well, and he's given back to us here at NMU for many, many years. And I can't let this go by without saying this about Steve. There's no guy that reps Ishpeming like this guy does. He's always talking about Ishpeming and the people he knows, and when he's up here, he visits, and I would assume that he spent some time in Ishpeming since he's been up here, and he's never forgotten his roots, and I think that says something about Steve. And when I was thinking about this, I thought, you know, as current board members, we stand on the shoulders of those that came before us. And Steve, I think, you know, we're lucky to be able to stand on your shoulders and benefit from having you served on this board. So, on behalf of the Northern Michigan University Board of Trustees, it's my privilege and pleasure to present you with an engraved plaque in recognition of your distinguished service to NMU. As trustee emeritus, you're entitled to all the respect and privileges of the same, and I extend our heartfelt thanks for your outstanding service to Northern Michigan University. So Steve, if you could come forward, please.
This is that week back we're talking about.
You're doing great. We're going to do two things. I got a plaque here that I'm going to read and give to Steve, but also when we get done, I'd ask all the board members to go over, because we have our trustee emeritus plaque on the wall in there. And there's a tile with Steve's name on it. We're going to have him put it in there and join many others that are on that board. Then want to make sure we get a picture of all of us, and Brock, if you could join us too. But the the plaque says, presented to Steve Mitchell, trustee emeritus, in recognition of distinguished service on the Board of Trustees of Northern Michigan University, 2013 through 2020. Mr. Chairman. I'm going to ask Steve to say a few words, and welcome.
Thank you very much. First of all, Mr. Chair, an unprecedented third term and well-deserved. Congratulations. Outstanding leadership that we've seen from him. There are 5 faces with whom I have not served. There are 3 that I did, but one's not here, Alexis Hart. I just want to take a couple of minutes to say that this is truly an exceptional university that you have the obligation, the responsibility, and the pleasure to oversee. When I became the chair in 2020, which, as we all know, turned out to be a rather tricky year with COVID, one of the things I decided to do was to send handwritten notes to everybody on campus. Well, I didn't get there, but I got 335 of them done. And as I went through and tried to write handwritten notes, most of them, a couple hundred, probably went to the faculty. I realized what a world-class faculty and administration that we have at Northern Michigan University. The schools from which they have graduated, the awards that they've had, absolutely extraordinary, and they make a huge impact. This is really a wonderful university. As I look across this room and see faces that I worked with over the years, I mean, just a huge amount of talent here. And now with a new president, we're really, really blessed, following in the footsteps of Carrie Schuling, who did such a wonderful job during the period of time she was president during the interim period, and Fritz Erickson, with whom I worked and who did an outstanding job when he was president of this institution. But we've had strong leadership, and we've really had a very strong board. And one of the major areas of emphasis of the board is the enrollment issue. And let me tell you, when I read the Massue report showing that Northern Michigan University increased its enrollment by 3.26%, not quite as good as the 3.53% that Michigan Tech did, but we were number 2 in the entire, of all the universities in Michigan, and that includes Michigan State and the University of Michigan. Some of you may not be aware, there are schools, 4 of them, who have lost more students in the last 10 years than we've ever had. And in fact, this year, more than half of the state schools lost enrollment. And about a decade ago, the board on which I sat made it a very, very strong commitment to keep the pressure on and to make enrollment the primary emphasis, because if you don't have student in the seats, you don't have a university. And as I look back, I attended probably 40 meetings during the period of time I was here. The most significant meeting that we held was in February of 2019, when a series of board initiatives came from the board. We, at that time, created the Rural Health Center. We created CSU, the Institute for Innovation here at Northern Michigan University. We did a program called Pick One that Chris Greer advocated, who has been our outstanding Dean of Students for a long time. And we also adopted a proposal that allowed us to bring in 5 embedded advisors. I only wish I'd have named them the John W. Smith advisors, because John W. Smith was a professor I had who remained friends with me from the period of time when I was at Northern in 1965, when I had him, all the way through until he died a couple of years ago. And John W. Smith kept telling me about Wayne State University and how they had such a retention rate. And we brought up Monica Brockmeyer from Wayne State, who talked about that. And so we finally got this package done, and it has been, I think, a great credit. So Gavin, free up the money to get more of them. Brock, this is an outstanding idea. And so I'm using this bully pulpit you just gave me for a couple of minutes to advocate for that, because it's been a tremendous impact on the innovation. I had a chance to meet Greg Sepinen before I left the board. Lisa and Steve, Steve, what a job you've done. This is unprecedented, to have a chair for 3 consecutive years in a time when we've had a lot of turnover on the board. Missy I've known through the Michigan Association of Health Plans. But I can tell you that we really have an extraordinary university. When I would write those notes, I'd go through their bios and I'd go, wow, Yale. Or look at that, Emmy Awards, or whatever it was. I mean, this is a world-class institution. It's a small regional university, but it's a world-class small regional university. And work as hard as you can, keep the enrollment up, because we want to keep it this way. And I look around the room. As a matter of fact, I served with 17 board members, served with 2 presidents, 3 provosts, innumerable vice presidents and deans. The one face that's still here after all this time is Gavin Leach, who continues to survive, and is just an extraordinary guy. You know, we're the first university in the state to have a PPP, a public-private partnership in the dorms. One of the great ideas that he brought in. So you are blessed to serve on this board. I look back on my life, and being the chair of this organization was the biggest honor I had. Unfortunately, it was in the COVID year, and I was also chair of the Michigan Chamber and had run my own company and worked 295 straight days, at least 6 hours on the weekends. But boy, it was worth it, because Northern, as it always does, did COVID better than any other institution as well. So thank you for this award. It means a great deal of me from getting it. By the way, Steve ran the biggest lobbying firm in Lansing. You talk about powerful guys. This guy was a very powerful guy. Yes. So was I. Then the Democrats took control of the legislature. But, and I went from who's who to who's that. But it really is a pleasure to be here. I thank all of you very much for everything that you do. Keep up the good work for Northern Michigan University, and go Cats. Thank you very much.
Yeah, Steve, I think what we'll do when we're done here, we'll go across the hall and get a group shot with everybody. Is that okay? Okay. Thank you, Steve, for being here and for your comments.
Congratulations. Thanks.
Okay, we've come to that point on the agenda, which is the item 18, which is good of the order. I messed this up last time. I won't do it this time because Kathy gave me explicit directions on what the order is. So we're going to start here and go around that way. Although I think you two guys might be mixed up, but that's okay.
Do it however.
Okay.
You're the chair.
All right, so if we go to the order, we'll start with Trustee Fatanti.
Okay, so the last 2 days of meetings have been just wonderful. I've enjoyed every bit of it. But we started yesterday with the wild pups. Let me tell you, I was so excited, and it was great. We got to see the good work that they do. They're helping students to cope with anxiety, and they're so cute, everything. And I have to tell you, when we got back, when my husband and I got back to the hotel last night, there were 2 wild pups in the lobby. And one of them was Hugo. He was one of the bigger dogs. And then the 3-legged
Sal.
What was his name?
Sal.
Sal?
Yep.
Yeah, anyways, so we got to pet him some more. And the little one with the 3 legs, he laid on his back, and we had to pet his belly. But anyways, just having those dogs here, they do drop your anxiety level, and they're just so much love. And I was going to ask Chair Young, maybe every meeting we could start with the wild pups. So, anyways, it's just a wonderful program, and I was happy to be a part of seeing all that. And then yesterday afternoon, we went to the ceramic studio, which was so interesting, and we saw the kiln that the students, they built. They had to take one down, and then they built the new one with the bricks and everything, and they used this baking soda to achieve different finishes on the pieces of art that they make. We saw beautiful pieces, mugs, bowls, vases, and the students are, just so talented. It was wonderful to see. And then we went upstairs to the DeVos Art Museum to see the senior projects. They were all amazing. There was one that really touched me, and it was a series of plaques that the artist had done depicting different times in her life. And she used the artist used humor when some of the moments were not that funny and very sad. And so I was so moved by the project, and when I got done reading it, she happened to be standing there, and I was just like, can I give you a hug? And I think her name was Olivia, but I'm not 100% sure on that. But all of the projects were just amazing, and there's just so much talent in the art and design school. And then, so today, being an accounting nerd, I thoroughly enjoyed, the College of Business presentation, and appreciate their efforts that they're trying to really grow, and that the enrollment in the College of Business is growing. And happy to see the soccer team and the cross-country team. And I'm really happy to see that Deanna and Gavin were recognized for all their efforts down in, especially down in Lansing. And it was good to see Steve Mitchell again, and congratulations on your emeritus status, and congratulations to all the graduates.
Thank you, Trustee Fatanti. Trustee Sepinen.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. The last 2 days, in particular today, made me feel really good. I looked at the sustainability plan, carbon neutrality, saw the efforts of the students and faculty coming to fruition. I saw the board and our president embracing and leaning into it. The possibilities of where we could go is I think wide open in that area. And I thought I was as high as I could get as far as feeling good. And then Steve Mitchell gets up there, and what we need to do is get our marketing people to have him talk, because you made me feel even better in the tradition of where Northern has been and where we're going is unstoppable. And thank you, Steve, for that inspirational talk. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Trustee Sepinen. Trustee Holmquist.
Unfortunately missed yesterday, so I didn't get to see the engagement day and miss the pups and the exhibit. I hope I can get a redo. I definitely would love to see everything that you guys experienced yesterday. The other thing that I missed was lunch with our commuter students, but I'm really happy to hear our continued focus on really embracing our commuter students, making sure that they're having a great experience here at NMU. I was a commuter student when I went to NMU, so can appreciate that. I know Jeff this summer had talked about an increased focus on that, and really like to see that, and now even coming into our board meetings. Similar to what Greg said, I'm just really excited by our continued commitment to sustainability and the steps we took today to move that forward. Our divestment policy change is exciting, and also hearing an update now on our carbon neutrality plan. I was happy to hear that we got input not only from people on campus, but the community. It goes beyond, of course, NMU, and is something that's just so critically important. So I'm just really proud of the work that we've done here and our commitment there. I loved hearing our accomplishments. President Tessman talking about our students, faculty, and staff, our soccer team, our cross-country runner. I mean, there's so much to really be proud of here, and I love hearing the stories and everyone's accomplishments. So, again, really proud to serve. It's nice to see Steve, so, and to hear about his time on the board. So, looking forward to commencement and excited for our graduates. So, thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Holmquist. Trustee LaPointe Dunham.
All right. So I'll start with yesterday. It was really exciting to hear about the care team and the case management efforts. I just feel like this is really going to impact our retention down the road and having that outlet for students. And, I wish I had that when I first entered college, because it would have been so helpful. And I just feel like it's so humanized as well. So it's not so clinical for people, and they're not afraid to go to it. So really excited about that. I want to touch on the ology, because I don't know if it was the timing or not, but it was, it got a little wordy, but it's really important work. Especially I have experience working on rebranding and marketing efforts around that and telling your story. And it's really important stuff, because you have to redefine yourself as, things change in the world. So I'm excited to see where that goes. I feel like we're on the right path with it, no matter if we use the word transcendent or superior or stark or whatever it is. I feel like we're addressing it, and that's the first step. Excited to hear about the staff onboarding and orientation. That's something that, sometimes it is overlooked in organizations, and universities are no different. So happy to hear that. And then Brock's report with the progress through the Okanagan Charter and how it's all fitting together and how we're going through those phases. Just exciting stuff to be a part of. I can't say it enough. So, and then the shout outs to the people of NMU. That's huge. So thank you.
Thank you, Trustee LaPointe Dunham. Trustee Toutant.
Yes, thanks, Chair. I'd like to echo some of Bridget's comments and really others here too. The aspect that the ology piece that Bridget mentioned, all the words that describe NMU, and there's so many, one I didn't see was resilient. And so I don't know where within the guise of that it fits, but I can't think of a more resilient place, both faculty, staff, and students. And the initiatives that have been done over the years reflect that resiliency. I'm not sure who gave the book today. Abigail, thank you. And because it really speaks to me in a way that says that trip we took yesterday over to the art and design, and we had the great opportunity to see everything there. The talent and the depth of the art expression that the students had was profound in a lot of ways. You could see the students that are carrying a heavy load in their thoughts, and to see that come out in their art, knowing that we have a wellness center now, and what that's going to do for people. I was really touched by that, and linking it here as well. It's great to see it all come together. There's another concept here, I think, with Northern on value alignment. And so that really plays itself out, whether it's going to be an aspect of food insecurities, clothing drives, to how we take care of each other. But you see it with the divest element of looking at what are our values and how does it shape programming, how does it shape policy, how we go forward. So when it comes down to the time for ology to look at things, it's really going to want to speak to our values. And so that, I was really pleased to see a lot of that values integration throughout everything that the university is doing. So I agree, it's been a really dynamic 2 days. I always learn so much in the scope of this. So it'll take me a while to unpack everything now as it was shoved into my head for the last 2 days. And really the last point I had too, I love that we honor the past. And so between Steve and then Scott Holman and others that time after time again, we look back at what we've done and how do we honor the past. So great to see. So thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Toutant. Trustee Lindberg.
Well, one of the advantages of going last, I guess, or disadvantages is ditto to what everyone said. And I don't know how I can add to your profound wisdom. But one of the things that living in the community that I've had the advantage to do this year is this last semester is visit some of the departments on campus. And so I'll speak to that just a little bit. And specifically, you and I, Chair Young, went over to technology and occupational sciences and toured that facility. I toured communication and media studies, the College of Business. I had some time with them. I got a great tour of theater and dance and found out about all the stuff that's behind that curtain. And I had a very informative visit with UP Cybersecurity Institute. And, you know, the takeaway from all these programs was that how innovative and creative and programming-wise, how we're moving forward and into the future. I mean, all these programs are just doing all kinds of creative things. The other takeaway I had was, and this was true for every department that I visited, their interest and their mission of doing their care for students and making sure that they got the best possible education and that they were going to go out into the world prepared to lead and to obtain a job. And it was just, you know, remarkable. The visits were just great. So, and I will leave it with that.
Thank you, Trustee Lindberg. I'd like to just make a couple of comments as well. Again, I do want to thank the board for their trust and confidence in me. That means a lot to me. Given the caliber of the people on this board, it makes it even more special. And I know my mom's watching. She wanted to make sure my vote count was correct on the leadership vote, so I think I nailed it, Mom, wherever you are. But she obviously was up here a while back and visited and loves this university and being up here and seeing everybody. I also want to thank Tricia's here. My wife is here over, yep, see back there. And I want to thank her, too, because, you know, being chair does require some time. Although I will say this, with Brock on board, and you know, some of that settled down, at least in terms of my workload, and I appreciate Brock, you know, that because you are doing such a great job, an exceptional job preparing us for the meetings, making sure we're informed with the communication and everything else. So that's very much appreciated. And I also want to thank your team because I think that what we learn when we come up here is really how far we're moving the ball down the field. We also realize we've got a long ways to go. We got to move the ball down the field a lot more. But the good news is, and the positive thing for me, is that we're making that progress. And Rome wasn't built in a day, and we're certainly not going to do that. But if we keep at it and keep going, we will do good things, continue to do good things. And I think the sustainability package is really a prime example of that. That's been on our plate for a while, and we finally addressed that, and we look forward to the progress we're gonna make with that. And also want to thank Steve Mitchell for being here, and Scott Holman, who's also sat through the meeting, has been here. He's going to be recognized at our speaker and honorary degree reception. But it really means a lot to us board members to have former trustees here, and we value your input, and thank you for being here. And the last thing I would just do is thank Brock, the members of your team that make our visits up here productive and comfortable. We're pretty well taken care of. We have a new executive chef, which you mentioned, and he's doing a great job. So I will just leave it at that. But we do appreciate all that you do to make this happen. Getting us set up in a room where we can conduct business in a professional manner it means a lot. So, with that, I will close this meeting, and we will stand adjourned. Thank you.
No.